The Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, passed in 2016, significantly changed the way India dealt with corporate insolvencies. It did this in four ways. First, it allowed any creditor, irrespective of their size or nature, who had been defaulted upon, to take a company to insolvency. So, whether you're a bank, or you're a bondholder, or you're an unpaid supplier, or an unpaid employee, if a company defaulted to you to the tune of, say, 1 crore, you could take the company to the National Company Law Tribunal and trigger insolvency proceedings against it. Second, it dispossessed the management once the insolvency process was triggered and placed the resolution professional appointed by the creditors in control of the company as the creditors sought to resolve the company. Third, it laid down timelines in the law for each phase of this process. And fourth, it gave prerogative to the creditors and not the courts to decide whether to resolve the company by taking a haircut and accepting purchase bids from prospective buyers, or to liquidate the company if there was absolutely no enterprise or asset value left. Now, there were in 10 years later, two specific problems have been pointed out with the working of the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. First, that the timelines are not being made, and perhaps there's no surprise there because timelines are not really binding on the courts. And second, the process is rather vulnerable to court interventions. To address these two problems, a bill has been drafted, which is currently being considered by the Lok Sabha. This bill seeks to provide an alternative out-of-court debtor-in-possession insolvency process as an additional option that some creditors can avail of in addition to the one that is already provided under the IBC. Will this bill reduce timelines? Will it add more predictability? Will it reduce court interventions in the way the insolvency resolution process currently works out? While the bill is well intended and it may in fact make the resolution process less adversarial than what it currently is, there are three problems with the bill. First, the bill is inequitable. Why? Because the availability of this option totally depends on the government notification. So the bill provides that only financial creditors, such as banks and non-banking financial institutions, may avail of this option. And even within this group, only those financial creditors that are notified by the government may avail of this out-of-court option. So, for example, the government may notify only public sector banks as eligible of availing this option, or it may notify only banks and not other kinds of financial creditors such as non-banks or bondholders from availing of this option. This is unfair to a lot of suppliers and employees who often have no other efficacious remedy to recover their debts, given the timelines within which our civil courts work. And therefore, the insolvency process, the threat of an insolvency and dispossession of the management often works as an effective threat under which they can at least negotiate the recovery of their dues. The moment you don't give this option to all the creditors, the process becomes inequitable. Second, the bill makes the insolvency process more unpredictable than what it currently is. In its 9-year life, the IBC has already seen 6 amendments to the text of the law and 122 amendments to the regulations under it. Each of these amendments have changed different aspects of the insolvency process, adding a lot of unpredictability to the way the law currently works out. Constantly changing the law actually makes it very hard for the lenders and the borrowers to plan their affairs. This invariably adds a legal uncertainty premium to the cost of borrowing. Now, this bill adds at least 2 more sources of massive unpredictability to the way the process may play out. First of all, an eligible financial creditor may avail of this option only if other eligible financial creditors agree that somebody may avail of this option. So it requires 51% approval of all the eligible financial creditors to really avail of this out-of-court debtor-in-possession model to resolve the defaulting company. Now, at the time of lending, that effectively means that a bank has no idea whether it will be able to avail of this option or not. once it wants to avail of this option, it will spend time negotiating for this 51% approval. And all of this adds a lot of unpredictability to whether a creditor can actually trigger this process or not. Secondly, like I mentioned earlier, which borrowers are covered under this and are subject to this option is also to be notified by the government, which means now government notifications can be easily issued, but they can also be easily revoked and amended, which means that at the time of lending, the creditor again has no idea whether that borrower to whom he is lending money will be covered under this out of court option or not. Third, unlike the current law, which provides for an automatic moratorium or calm period once insolvency is triggered, the current option makes moratorium subject to the discretion of the National Company Law Tribunal. What do I mean by this? Now, a critical part of any insolvency process is what is known as a calm period, where all the creditors can come together and apply their mind and decide whether they want to save the company or liquidate it. During this calm period, no creditor can individually go and recover their own debt by initiating parallel proceedings. This calm period is critical for any insolvency process to work out well. Now, in this current bill, the moratorium is not automatic. The resolution professional must first obtain the approval of all the creditors who are part of the creditors committee and then go to the National Company Law Tribunal and apply for it. And it is at the discretion of the National Company Law Tribunal to grant it or not. This adds more unpredictability to how this out-of-court debtor in possession process will play out in the absence of a moratorium, or if moratorium is granted, then under the shadow of a moratorium. The final problem with this bill is that it is not likely to reduce timelines. In fact, it may well increase the timeline for resolution of companies. Why am I saying this? First of all, a financial creditor to avail of this option will spend some time trying to negotiate a 51% approval of the other financial creditors so that he can avail of this option. This means that after default, some time is gone in getting the 51% approval. Second, even once the approval is obtained, the debtor is given at least 2 chances to object to the commencement of an insolvency process. Now, this adds close to 60 more days before the resolution process can even commence. Third, if this resolution out of court debtor in possession resolution process fails, which means that if no resolution plan is received, it's not like the company automatically goes into liquidation, as is currently the case under the current law. If it fails, if this out-of-court option fails, the National Company Law Tribunal can actually force the creditors to go back to another resolution process, which is currently provided under the law, which adds at least 270 more days to the time for resolution of insolvency. These pre-trigger approvals and the possibility of this out-of-court process being converted into the regular process adds at least a year to the resolution of a company compared to the current period. Now, like I said, this out-of-court debtor in possession insolvency process may well be less adversarial than what we currently see it to be under the IBC. However, it continues to suffer from the problem of inequitability, unpredictability, and the possible addition of timelines to the current process. Thank you.